Some of you may remember my very first video, William Lane Craig's Arguments from Authority. Now that I have refined my explanatory skills, I decided to analyze separately and more thoroughly each case which I presented there. The first I'm going to cover is the one I consider the more damning, Wesley, Salmon. If you check out the book which Craig co-authored in 2004 with Walter Sinnott Armstrong entitled Does God Exist? A Debate Between a Christian and an Atheist, you'll come to a point where Armstrong criticized Craig's use of arguments from authority in the following way, open quote. Third, Craig cites many authorities, Hawking, Healy, Hick, Hilbert, Hoyle, and Hume. Watch out for authorities, especially when someone cites too many. This is the fallacy of excessive footnotes. It's fine to cite some authorities, but they must be cited accurately in context and on topics on which they really are authorities. Most importantly, authorities are useless where controversy lives, as in philosophy. For every philosopher one Craig cites, I could quote others who claim the opposite. Almost no view is so absurd that you can't find some philosopher who held it. But the fact that a philosopher says something is no argument that what the philosopher says is true. That goes for me too. You have to judge for yourself. End quote. Craig answered with the following, open quote. Finally, the charge of excessive footnotes. This is really the charge of a fallacious appeal to authority. But as Wesley Salmon puts it, open quote, there are correct uses of authority as well as incorrect ones. It would be a sophomoric mistake to suppose that every appeal to authority is illegitimate, for the proper use of authority plays an indispensable role in the accumulation and application of knowledge. End quote. In order to count as evidence, the testimony must be from an honest and reliable authority on a matter in the person's fields of expertise. In that case, open quote, the appeal to a reliable authority is legitimate, for the testimony of a reliable authority is evidence for a conclusion. End quote. When I quote recognized authorities like Hawking, Roos, Kramer, Johnson, and others concerning matters in their respective fields of expertise, particularly about the state of scholarly opinion in their fields, this most certainly does count as expert testimony, and hence evidence for the matter in question. End quote. For the content of this video, concentrate your attention exclusively on Sinnott Armstrong's observation about the usefulness of authorities in issues where experts disagree. It's a good point. We can't be experts in all fields, therefore we have to rely on the judgment of people who are supposedly knowledgeable on issues in which we are not properly prepared. If there is a consensus among the experts in a field, then we can rely on it with relative ease. But what should we do if there is a significant dissent between equally trustworthy authorities? Who are we to agree with, and why? Unless you have a prior preference on the conclusion to reach, which predisposes you in trusting the more friendly side. The proper solution to this dilemma is to look at the information upon which the experts have based their judgment and create your own opinion, that is, if you are truly able to understand the material. This renders the reliance on authorities useless to begin with. Can Craig say that all of his authorities represent the consensus of their fields, and how much should the consensus consist in? Notice that Craig didn't give a response to the specific criticism, despite Armstrong's assertion that it was his most important objection, and the quote that he subsequently gives to back up his strategy is from Wesley Salmon, who actually agrees with Armstrong on this exact point. Observe this extract from Salmon's book Logic. Open quote, authorities who are equally competent, as far as you can tell, may disagree. In such cases, there is no reason to place greater confidence in one than in the other, and people are apt to choose the authority that gives them the answer they want to hear. Ignoring the judgment of opposed authorities is a case of biasing the evidence. When authorities disagree, it is a time to reconsider the objective evidence upon which the authorities have supposedly based their judgments. End quote. Notice that this comes from the exact same book which Craig quoted from, and only a few paragraphs after the citation is used. That he managed to miss this part is not believable. It's more probable that he willfully omitted it. Basically, Craig decided to quote selective parts of Salmon's book to use him as an authority in support of his position instead of his opponent's one. You don't have to take my word for it, since Salmon's book is freely available online, and I put a link of it in the description. This is an episode in which Craig misrepresented a philosopher's opinion to support his debate strategies, misinforming his readers in the meanwhile.